day, guys, and welcome to the weekly Rants with Wrap. This week, we're going to discuss a couple of factors. We're going to go off and look at global growth. We're also going to look at what's happening with Tesla and also looking at some of the stuff that's happening with BHP Billiton with regards to some of the production issues. So let's start off with the IMF. The IMF came out this week with basically a reduction in their growth estimates for 2022 and 2023. They dropped 2022's growth estimates down by about 0.8%, and they dropped 2023 down by 0.2%, so about a 1% drop. And now the thing about this is that this is a drop from what their expectations were in January. We're talking about a significant pullback in terms of the expectations of the IMF. So looking at this objectively, of course, the Russia situation is probably a major factor here. But also, I think the fact that inflation seems to have gone from being, viewed as being transitory. That's the common wisdom among, or was the common wisdom among, the big institutions out there, to being a bit more troublesome, has also played a factor into this. Now, looking at the Russia-Ukraine situation, there isn't really any big movement there. There's been some talk that apparently that Russia wants to get this thing sorted out for the next couple of weeks or so. Apparently, like the May 9th, I think, is a major holiday in Russia, kind of like the 4th of July in the US, or, trace of April for us in South Africa to a certain extent. And he would like to have the political and, other, kind of impact of saying, okay, on May 9th, we won our denazification, endeavors against the Ukrainians, and, it's over. In order to do that, of course, you would have to significantly, increase the amount of pressure for Ukraine, basically put more resources, have more attacks, have more damage done to Ukrainians, to have it sort of the next couple of weeks. So let us see if that's a possibility or not. At the moment, oil prices still remain reasonably high, above $100 a barrel, but about 108 or 109 the last I checked. But I mean, you're talking about a significant, increase over what it was before the crisis, when we like 80 was a high number. In addition to that, we've seen the rand come down quite significantly in South Africa because of the fact that we've had a couple, impacts from natural disasters, as well as our ongoing disaster that is Eskom. So speaking of Eskom came out and basically implemented load shedding, first level 2, then up to level 4, but since brought it down a little bit again. But they also mentioned the fact that they may be seeing as much as 100 days of load shedding in the next year or so. So we're talking about, a quarter, maybe a third of the next, like 300 plus days or 100 days, where we would see load shedding, which is an incredibly, disruptive, feature in this economy. Load shedding basically stops you from producing, it stops you from traveling easily because, of course, of the impact on, transport, etc. It has a huge impact on the total economy. And I think one of the big bottlenecks in this country has been the fact that we can't grow very fast, because if we did, Eskom literally could not provide enough electricity to supply us. At the same time, we've also had the floods in KZN that have disrupted transport. Obviously huge, humanitarian disaster, hundreds of people dead, many missing. People are obviously lost almost everything they have. We're talking about the floods have been, if you look at the pictures on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever, devastating, unbelievable power of nature. But also from an economic point of view, what it's done is it's basically disrupted the port. The port of Durban is a key port for South Africa, much more important, for instance, than in Richards Bay for consumers and so on, because Richards Bay is more of a commodities port. There's about 9,000 or 8,000 containers that have been basically backlogged at the port. That's about a week or so, maybe 10 days of backlog created at the port. Now, what you have to understand is that it may just sound, people have to wait a week or two to get their the newest Nikes or clothing or something ordered from China. But also, remember, machinery, equipment for manufacturing also comes via these ports. If you have a factory, if you have something that basically a plant somewhere that needs equipment, that needs certain raw materials, that needs certain inputs that are imported. And quite frankly, if you look at South Africa, we're just not large enough to basically produce most of the stuff that we need for creating manufacturing, or much of the stuff that we need for creating manufacturing. then basically this puts a backlog through the entire economy. It makes a huge impact, I think, long term, in terms of getting bottlenecks. I mean, one factory is down, what it produces for another factory gets affected as well. So we could be seeing these aftershocks for quite some time. And on the back of that news, the ESCOM news, the fact that we had these floods as well as some negative economic news globally, we saw the rand weaken significantly. And we're talking about from about 1440, 1450 at the strongest to about 1540, but rand or so, which is basically, if you think about it this way, if you did $1 million of transfers, offshore transfers, it's R1,000,000 difference, roughly. That's what 1440 to 1540 does to you. It's about R1,000,000 difference in what you're making. If you basically sell something for $1 million, you'd make R1,000,000 less. Okay, if it was 1440 versus at 1450. So obviously you're making nice money if you're basically exporting. But if you're importing, if you brought something in that's $1 million, you're paying R1,000,000 more. Okay, that's a much bigger impact than you would probably think from just one rand movement in terms of the currency. So in terms of the economy, I think things are slowing down. Things are still pretty tough, and we South Africa have particular issues that are obviously troublesome. Now we also had news this week from Tesla on 420, April 20th. Obviously Elon Musk likes his the 420. It's a nice joke. 42, of course, he knows the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy number. 420 is apparently the number for weed smokers, which apparently he has, if you saw the Joe Rogan podcast. And also, the number he put through, for instance, for the Twitter purchase of was also, there's ways to look at it at 420, so it's like 5420. So it's obviously a number he likes. But anyway, getting back to the Tesla numbers, Tesla beat expectations. The company is doing really well. Look, it's an incredibly impressive thing that he has done there. The ability to have these cars manufactured, to make the profits that he's making, to have the operations that he's building, very impressive. That being said, the price of Tesla at the moment is more than impressive. So incredible achievement, but what the price of Tesla right now looks like is beyond even that achievement. You know what I mean? So Tesla to be comparable to like a Chrysler or a Ford, not yet there, but I mean, just put it in the same terms, incredible. No one else has done that in many decades anywhere in the world, and certainly not in the US. Basically having a mass manufactured car in the US and not going bankrupt is something that hasn't been done for almost like a century. It's like a huge achievement. But that is not what the market's pricing Tesla as. Market's pricing Tesla as the entire car market effectively, plus a bit more. So why would that be, and what could justify that? Okay, a couple of things. Tesla has, from all things I've seen out there, really overachieved in regards to the self-driving cars relative to other players out there. Relative to what Elon Musk has been saying, no. He's been saying every single year for the last 5 years or so that this is the year that they're going to have full self-driving, where the car is safer than the average human. Has not been done yet. Again, he says this year. This is the year it's going to happen. That being said, what is being done up to this point in time is still quite impressive. Now, that involves full self-driving being enough to justify the pricing? Possibly. It is a very valuable thing, because it won't just be applied to cars, it will be applied to cars, to drones, possibly even to robots, like humanoid robots, house butlers, effectively. And that's one of the things that Tesla is actually doing. It's spending quite a bit of money going towards developing a humanoid robot, based on the fact that once it has that self-driving technology, you could take the same tech, put into the humanoid robot, and you would be able to navigate your house like the car navigates the streets. Okay, if that is possible, then yeah, that you can definitely justify the price that Tesla has right now, because as Musk says, that's a much larger market than the car market. Because you won't just be humanoid robots in your house. No, it'll be humanoid robots at possibly like fast food places, cleaning apartment buildings, cleaning office buildings. Humanoid robots, it'll be a new source of labor. It'll be a huge, incredible increase in the labor pool for the world, effectively. Because if there's a robot that can do basic tasks, clean something, pick something from a place, take it to another place, walk up some stairs, flip a burger, there's a whole huge segment of the global economy that could be transformed by that. So that's something to be considered as well. So that is possibly why we would see Tesla valued as it is. But again, Tesla is a pure car company. Impossible for it to achieve to achieve any kind of success that could justify the current share price of the company. Also, this week we had some news out of Bulletin. Apparently, they are under a bit of pressure with regards to some of their production in West Australia. And one thing I want to bring up is the fact that we are seeing, some of these knock-on effects. So one thing they are seeing is maintenance, so it's been an issue. But they're also seeing COVID-related labor shortages. They're seeing issues with regards to, materials and so on and transporting of them. And this is something to be concerned about because the stuff happening in China right now around Shanghai, that is really, really important in terms of the global economy. We haven't really felt it just yet, but I think in the next few months we are going to feel it because, the Shanghai lockdown is insane. It's very, very strict. The government, for instance, has issued a thing where they said basically if you can't get to, if you're an essential job, you might want to consider basically living at your office, for the foreseeable future in order to basically continue doing your job if you cannot work from home. That's what they're asking you to do. Basically live at the office because they want you to be locked down. It's an interesting story to be followed going forward. But in terms of the BHP numbers, disappointing in terms of production. Kumba also had some disappointing production numbers as well. That stock came down quite substantially. Now, it depends on what's going to happen going forward from here. I do think that we are probably still going to see some stimulus from China, at least in the near term. But globally, I think at the moment, the world's going to a contractionary phase. Inflation is too high. We have to see a bit of a pullback, and that's probably going to be a bit of a negative for some of the resources out there, with the possible exception of food. Okay, so that's us for this week. Thanks for joining us for the weekly wrap, and I'll see you guys again next week.